Off-Grid News welcomes you to the news that's not fit to print. I'm Rob, and I identify as Omicron. My pronouns are scary and weak. My Carhartt coat identifies as denim, and pronouns are Levi and Strauss. Navy SEALs will no longer be using Washington State parks for training after a lawsuit was filed. The complaint states, "We just can't have scary men stalking us in the woods of our state parks, carrying fake guns and wearing scary camouflage. It is scarring our children and giving them nightmares." Who's over there behind the tree? One person in the comment section of the article said, "You know what would even be more scary? Not having them. You're more than welcome to come to our state parks and train at the Lake of the Ozarks. And heck, you might even find some shady characters that you could actually apprehend." U.S. Navy commander has pled guilty to receiving $250,000 in cash and prostitution services from a foreign defense contractor in exchange for state secrets. These people are the dumbest people on the planet. I mean, think about it. You decide to be a traitor to your country for nothing. I meant, you can't even buy a house for $250,000. And what is it with the prostitution? You can have as many women as you want in every port you pull into, and you have to be paid with prostitutes? Wow, stupid. A new trend has developed in the cancel culture. Neil Young has decided to cancel himself. He told music streaming service Spotify that he no longer wants his music streamed for their platform over its relationship with divisive podcaster host Joe Rogan. The company says it's happy to honor Young's request. We'd much rather have Rogan, who makes millions each year, over some has-been that gets streamed once a year. I tried to Google him. Google said it didn't know who he was. The Hill reported that in a completely made-up poll that had no point to anything, that Biden would win the election against Trump 43-33. And Biden would win an election against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis 41-33, with more than 60% saying, "Who's Ron DeSantis?" What a stupid poll. These people are dumb. With only 40% of the people in hospitals with virus are being treated for the virus, and 60% are in the hospital for other medical conditions. The CDC director says milder doesn't mean mild, as virus hospitalizations have reached record highs. Hold on just a minute. This just in, over 90% of the Americans have just become millionaires. With the CDC's new method of record keeping, if you have deposited $1 million in your life, even if you spent it all, you are now considered a millionaire. Congratulations on being a millionaire! Woohoo! The IRS just received a massive $74 billion infusion of cash. After the government determined that most Americans is now considered wealthy, they are now in the highest tax brackets. Each American will have to pay back taxes averaging about $500,000. Congratulations on being a millionaire! Well, I can kiss my you-know-what. It's a well-known fact that millions of children die each day from the fumes produced by the gas cook stove that millions of Americans have in their kitchen. But what you may not know is it pollutes more than your car. CNN's Brian Stelter says, "Methane, the main component of natural gases, is a potential planet warmer. It is around 80 times more powerful in short term than carbon dioxide, scientists say." The study also found that in homes without range hoods or with poor ventilation, the concentration of harmful gas, nitrogen oxide, a byproduct of burning natural gas, can reach or surpass a healthy limit within minutes, especially in homes with small kitchens. You would think that homeowners would have disposed of these death traps when they lost their first child from the harmful gas these stoves produce. When will these people learn? Update to our last report that I told you about a woman who was exposed to 100 monkeys. Roll tape. Witness of the CDC lab monkey's crash has developed symptoms. Michelle Fallon is living a nightmare after a truck crashed in Pennsylvania carrying 100 monkeys from the island off Africa's coast. Fallon is now experiencing symptoms believed to be related to the close contact with the monkeys. The next day, she developed a cough and something resembling pink eye. She was rushed to the emergency room where the infectious disease doctors treated her for the first of 4 rabies shots. and prescription to treat shingles, cold sores, and herpes, and it also can treat chickenpox. Turns out, after being treated by the infectious disease doctor, she has the virus. She contracted the virus at a birthday party she attended later that night after the accident. Now, wait one gosh darn minute. Isn't the first thing a doctor does is test you for the virus? Yet none of these infectious disease doctors even considered the test for the most infectious disease we have right now. The CDC says virus vaccines may be given to children without regard to timing of other vaccines. However, the FDA says there is no safety data sheets that support the statement for any vaccine. You've heard the old saying, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. These people don't even realize there are two hands. Brian Stelter reports a call between the U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukraine President Zelensky on Thursday did not go well. A senior Ukraine official told CNN amid disagreements over the risk levels of Russia attack. The White House, however, disputes the official account, warning that anonymous sources were leaking falsehoods. They did state that Biden warned Zelensky an imminent invasion is a distinct possibility. On the call, which the Ukraine official described as long and frank, Biden warned his Ukraine counterpart that a Russia attack may be imminent, saying that an invasion was now virtual certainty once the ground has frozen later in February, according to the official. Zelensky, however, restated his position that the threat from Russia remains dangerous but ambiguous, and it's not certain that an attack will be placed, the official said. Biden decided to steal a phrase from former President Trump when he called Ukraine. It was a perfect call. Perfect call. After that strategy failed, Biden decided he wanted to declare war on Ukraine while defending Ukraine's border from Russia. Yep, sounds like something he would say. Feds launched a frantic blockade to stop tens of thousands of pages on virus vaccines from coming out weeks after the federal judge ordered the FDA to get Americans the data it relied upon when it approved the Pfizer vaccine. This after the FDA promised 500 pages a month for 75 years. Well, that's a good thing. The government has nothing to hide. I mean, of course it should take 75 years to relay a document. It takes so long for a printer to print that many pages, said one California drug user. The virus hits one of the last unaffected places on the planet. Kiribati closed its borders when the pandemic started and has been virus-free for 2 years until this month, when it's let 54 citizens return home after all that time. After being vaccinated, tested 3 times, and quarantined, over half of them tested positive and spread it throughout the community. This promoted NASA to test Mars soil samples, and it turns out that no place in the universe is safe from the virus. Over half of the soil samples tested positive for the virus, and Mars is now self-quarantined for 14 days. MSNBC reported that the reason Biden's poll numbers are the lowest since the poll began is because the unvaccinated won't get vaccinated. Yep, it's our fault, one unvaccinated person said. CNN's Brian Stelter said, it's Trump's fault that Biden called Fox News reporter Peter Doocy a stupid SOB. If Trump would not have been so mean to reporters, it wouldn't make the interaction between current president and reporters so confrontational. MSNBC told viewers that the election reform bill is a war and that people need to pick up a weapon and fight for freedom. Yeah, right. Those liberal pansies wouldn't even know what a weapon looked like, said one man from Texas. Just in time for President Biden's infrastructure speech in Pittsburgh, a bridge collapsed only hours before his speech. A spokesperson said in this unplanned, unrehearsed, unstaged, completely spontaneous, uncannily coincidence, completely freakish timed, oddly conspiracy theory latent bridge collapse, the president made a pit stop at the bridge to watch the rescue efforts. Top U.S. General Mark Milley says a bunch of things about Russia and Ukraine border crisis that he's not qualified to discuss. As we learned in 2021, his only qualification is to inform China that he will inform them if the U.S. decides to attack them. Biden told Milley that he needs to leave the military operation of Ukraine to Hunter Biden, since Ukraine is very important to Hunter's financial future. Canada said, mercy sakes alive, it looks like we've got us a convoy with a rubber duck. Ain't you a beautiful sight? They trucked all day and they trucked all night. Democrats are excited to hear the good news that Biden will nominate a replacement for retiring Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. This will increase the number of liberal judges from 3 to 3. Biden said this will balance out the court, so reasonable decisions will come out of the court in the future. The day after Spotify removed Neil Young from their platform after he told them to, angry fans started deleting Spotify from their devices. The number of people that left the platform over the controversy was much higher than anyone had anticipated, with all 4 angry people leaving angry tweets on Twitter. Nebraska has become the 17th state to convene a constitutional convention. The Constitution requires 17 more states to join in order to overrule Congress in changes of the Constitution. The goal of the 17 states that have already passed legislation is to limit the size of the federal government by capping the debt ceiling and creating term limits for members of Congress and the Senate. There are currently 19 other states that have legislation in some stage of consideration. If a constitutional convention were to happen, it will be the first one since the draft of the Constitution. Wow! Those founding fathers were pretty smart. It's like an escape hatch written right into the Constitution. Genius. Pennsylvania court strikes down state mail-in voting law as unconstitutional, leaving one resident say, it's okay, doesn't really matter anymore. Now we got Trump out of office. 3-time Grammy winner Joni Mitchell followed Neil Young by removing her music from Spotify, leaving thousands of people on Twitter asking, who is Joni Mitchell? The #1 search term on Google is Joni Mitchell. After Biden's dog has bitten several people, Biden welcomes Willow, the cat, to the White House in hopes that they'd have less injuries. Unfortunately, the cat attached itself to staff members' faces. Oops. The collapsed Pittsburgh Bridge is one of 44,000 in poor condition in the United States, giving Biden plenty of opportunity to visit collapsed bridges while selling his infrastructure bill. A 26-year-old biological male who now claims to identify as a woman was sentenced to this week to 2 years in juvenile detention center, where he reportedly will be housed with females for molesting a 10-year-old girl in a woman's bathroom. Hannah Tubbs, formerly James Tubbs, pleaded guilty to molesting the girl in a woman's bathroom 8 years ago when Tubbs was 2 weeks from turning 18. Fox News reported Thursday it was only after Tubbs was taken into custody that he began identifying as a woman, prosecutors said. Well, don't you think he'll just assault young girls in the juvenile detention center? Well, how can he assault young girls if he's a female? She is a female after all. Senator Mitt Romney, who is vaccinated and boosted, says he's tested positive for the virus. He's expected to have a heart attack any day now. 60 million U.S. households have ordered free virus test kits, the White House says. You can buy these test kits on the black market for $15 a piece, which undercuts Walmart by $7. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, warned a Russian invasion of Ukraine would be horrific for the country of Russia and will result in Russia acquiring $86 billion in abandoned U.S. military equipment. They would also end up acquiring a couple of abandoned U.S. submarines and warships, including a fully stocked aircraft carrier. U.S. airline cancels almost 5,000 flights ahead of Winter Storm Omicron 2. Man in Missouri dies of virus after his car skids out of control and hits a massive oak tree. 500 Missouri residents petitioned the landowner for the oak tree's firewood. Germany and U.S. threatened to hit Putin's $11 billion gas pipeline if Russia invades Ukraine. Good idea to tell your enemies your war plans so your enemies can build a good defense. Have you heard what Russia's plan of attack is yet? The CDC says it's important that children shouldn't eat dessert until they've eaten all their McDonald's. So that's all your news that's not fit to print. Please share this with your friends on other social media sites. It really is a big help. Click subscribe for future updates. Thanks for watching.